Hi, everybody. I'm Starla.
I'm Mik.
And we are
Our Family Plays Games.
Yeah. And welcome to this special upload. We were involved in Board&Dice Con on May 7th.
Yes.
And we were in charge of a panel on diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to share that panel with everyone. We had some wonderful guests on that panel.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Tanya Pobuda. We had Aaron from GameEnthus and Amanda Panda, and they had some wonderful things to share about the need for more diversity, inclusion, and equity in the hobby. We want to make sure that you guys get a chance to see it.
We were talking about it, amongst, me and Starla, and we were saying we could not let this just go.
Yes.
We have to get out to more people because it was seen by just a few, but we need to get it out to a wider audience.
Yeah, it's just a few people that came to Board&Dice Con. So we want more people to see and hear what everyone had to say.
Yes.
Because some of those things that we talked about can really be very enlightening and life-changing. And we want to share that stuff with you.
Because, right now we're fighting, indifference.
Yes.
And that's a big one. There's nothing special or crazy going on. And, people just kind of like, who cares?
Exactly.
So we got to fight that indifference.
I agree.
Yes.
So we hope you guys enjoy this segment.
Yes.
If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below.
All right.
Enjoy it. Well, hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome to our diversity and inclusion presentation with Our Family Plays Games.
Yes.
And some of our awesome OFPG Voices team.
Yes.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes. Now we got to introduce ourselves, Starla. What you doing going silent on us? You got to introduce us.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know us, I'm Starla.
I'm Mik.
And we are
Our Family Plays Games. Boom! Boom, gonna dynamite. Yeah.
Now, what we are going to do today, we want to talk about an issue that is really important to us.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons why our channel exists at all, is because we know that this particular hobby, there's a lack of diversity and inclusion, and we're working every day to improve that and make it better for everyone so that we can all come to the table together, build community, have fun, and just respect each other, regardless of whatever our backgrounds or where we're from, whatever countries. Just learn to respect each other and have a good time. So that's what we do with Our Family Plays Games, in addition to all the other stuff, which is board gaming.
Yes.
We love board gaming.
Yes, we do.
And we want to have fun board gaming with any and everyone we sit at the table with.
Yes. Now, you want to introduce everybody?
Well, we have some wonderful people on our panel today. And we're so excited and lucky to have them as part of our OFPG Voices contributors. And I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, but I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, and we're going to start with Aaron. That's AA. Aaron, just tell everybody about yourself and what you do in the hobby.
Sure. Okay, I'm Aaron. I run a small site called GameEnthus.com. I'm an OFPG contributor. I also contribute to the 5 by Games podcast. I've only really been in the hobby gaming maybe 4 or 5 years, but I'm hungry to learn more. I really enjoy doing it. Very happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And also going in alphabetical order, the next person is Amanda Panda.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Panda, aka Panda Angel. That's Panda, the number 8 NGEL. I'm primarily a board game Twitch streamer. I'm also a part of Our Family Plays Games Voices. I also stream for Tabletop Live Network and Tabletop After Dark and Tabletop Gamers. And I guest on a lot of people's streams. But you can find me everywhere under Panda Angel. I love this board gaming community. It's just so wonderful. And we will talk more about how lovely and wonderful it is, but also how we can, make it a little bit better. So I'm very excited for that.
And Amanda forgot to tell you guys one thing. Amanda makes some of the best chocolate chip cookies. My goodness.
But she don't make enough, though. She don't make enough,
She gave us and they were so good. He and I were fighting over the last one.
She don't make enough, though, and she need to do some shipping up around
we
here.
We love our ship. And those cookies were the bomb.
She needs to ship.
Let's do a cookie baking show or something like that.
Yeah.
So I need 10 for each person, right? So I need to send you 30 of them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
40.
I could use 10.
40.
Per person.
No, we need 40.
He will
You need to add in another 10.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And last but of course not least, we have Dr. Tanya Pobuda.
Yes.
Tanya, would you please, Dr. Pobuda,
Doctor.
would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. I did my entire PhD dissertation on board games, and specifically on equity, representation in particular, and inclusion in board gaming spaces. I just recently got my PhD. I'm trying to make my dissertation into a book. And the best thing I get to do, as I was sharing with the team here, every couple of months is contribute to our Family Plays Games Voices. I'm so proud of the work that Mik and Starla are doing, and it's a huge honor to be a part of this. I think they're making real change in the board game community.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're so proud to have you.
Yes.
Because a lot of times, when we talk to people about, there's issues with diversity and inclusion and equity, I think some people think we're making it up. And we're not. It's real. And then you have the facts. I mean, you show the numbers and you have the statistics that prove what we're saying, and that there's a need here that we need to make some progress and some change. So we really appreciate you bringing all of that academic, educational, background to what we do in this.
Yes, so we can put them with facts. Like, hold on. Here's Tanya. Hold on. We got facts. We got facts.
All right, so what we have today is a little presentation about diversity and inclusion and some of the things we want to highlight. Hopefully everything will go well. We have a PowerPoint presentation we're going to show you. And then after that, we will come back and do some more discussion. And then Tanya has some really good things she wants to share as well. All right, so we put this little presentation together to talk more about it. And hopefully these slides will kind of illustrate what we're working towards in this hobby. So why diversity and inclusion matters. Okay, so this is the order of our presentation. So we're going to talk about who we are, our Family Plays Games, panel introduction. We've kind of done that already.
Did that, yeah.
And then the next one, what does D&I really mean? What does D&I in the hobby look like? What is the benefit? We're going to have some views from our panelists, and then we'll have some Q&A, okay? We're going to keep it brief, but we want to give you guys time to really, jump into this subject with us. And this is who we are. Our Family Plays Games. We're a family that likes to play games. That's a little bit of our background. We started this back in 2018 with just a Facebook page. And then we decided to grow it in 2020 into a YouTube channel. And after that, that's when things really started to take off, when people could kind of put a face to what we were doing on social media. Because when we started on social media, we were just putting out pictures of games and a few pictures of us, but mostly of games. But when we went on YouTube, we really didn't know what an impact we would make. And we're just so happy that what we were talking about resonated with all people, not just people of color, not just the LGBTQ community, but people who were not of color who said, you know what, we need change, we need positive change, and we love what they're doing, and then they support what we do. Diversity and inclusion, it means bringing people together. When we have a diverse and inclusive community, it allows an experience that's inclusive and can be shared by all. It guides discourse about real people, similarities, and differences. Number two, it validates identity. It makes everyone feel as if their race, gender, and culture are valued, accepted, and understood. Number three, accepting of other cultures. It challenges perceived cultural norms and brings about acceptance and understanding of others. Number four, it's being a catalyst for change. It makes people question and challenge what they may believe to be normal and view those norms from another person's perspective. And last but not least, it will bring about connection. It will make people feel connected to each other. It helps them understand that we're all human. So next I'm going to talk about what does diversity and inclusion in board gaming look like. And so I just put some pictures together of what it looks like. It looks like a group of people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, races and cultures, coming together, having a good time. And we really like to emphasize that on Voices. We have such a diverse group of contributors, and those contributors bring their different ideas and different perspectives together, and it always makes for a good time. And I'm just so happy to have a show where we can have such diversity. And it also looks like there's a picture here of Marcus Ross with the Lord of the Rings game. He's also one of our OFPG Voices contributors, and he's a board game designer. So it looks like diversity and inclusion also goes from playing together to the creation of games to the companies that make the games. Having people from different cultures is going to make things different. It's going to make things better. All right. Oh, and that was one of the diversity in some of the board games. So Dice Hospital, they put a nice diverse cover on their game. We need to see that because that makes people feel like this game is for them. And then I have Above and Below, where all of his characters are diverse, not only from different races and culture, but also ages. He has young characters, he has old characters, because sometimes we forget about ageism. So we got to think about that people from all ages should be included as well. And then what is the benefit? So the benefit from having a diverse and inclusive community of board gamers, we can learn from each other. We can see games played from different perspectives. We foster a sense of community for everyone, having games that highlight all cultures and not just a few. And we create safe spaces for all. So now I'm going to open up the floor to our panelists.
Okay, so one thing that Mik alluded to is just the empirical sort of level set of board gaming currently. Now, one of the things the reason I started this research was I worked in several large multinational PR communications firms where I helped businesses try to figure out, what the next move was to expand their revenues, to expand their businesses globally. And one of the big things that I learned doing that work, mapping audiences, helping companies take their business to the next level, is representation is a critical element to market expansion. And one of the things I saw with board gaming, it seemed smaller than it should be. It seemed stunted. It seemed a little bit recursive, derivative. There seemed to be a lot of the same things being pitched as board games. And what I wanted to do was do a market research analysis of board game and board gaming to figure out whether or not there was a tremendous amount of diversity in things like the labor of board games. So for example, here we have the top 400 Board Game Geek ranked games. And this is my analysis, very structured, governed by a research ethics board, very, very strict regulations. This was peer reviewed by some of the biggest game scholars out there. And what I found was 92.6% of the board game designers responsible for those top ranked Board Game Geek games were white men. And this was a very rigorous process, a coding process that I had to do, just to do some research parlance, where I had to really vet, in terms of how they self-identify, the research about each and every one of these designers, and came up with the fact that 540 of the designers responsible for that top 400 list were white men identified in that way. 16 were white women, 24 were Black, Indigenous, person of color men, and then there was white non-binary. And some of these are double counts. So in this case, Eric Lang represents a fair number of that 24. And then I looked at and hopefully you can see this moving, 82.5% of the images on the board game cover art. And Mik and Starla in their presentation talked about the importance of that cover because it is advertising. This was something I would always counsel my clients. This is the sort of advertising cover, the retail experience, and you're inviting people in with your cover art. And in this case, it is super skewed to whiteness and at 82.5% of the time. And this involved counting every single figure on those board game covers. And it was a very rigorous process, again, vetted by a peer review panel. And then 17.5% were Black, Indigenous, person of color representation, not always positive. And that's something that I had to put to one side. And then the other thing was the maleness of the cover art at 76.8% male, men or boys were in terms of representation, and only 23.2% at 195 images. I was quite surprised by this finding because I myself went in with a little bit more rosy view of what board game cover art looked like. But this structured analysis proved that it was quite skewed toward maleness. So whiteness and maleness is predominant in the human representation on board game cover art, and that's got to change.
Yeah.
And then of the top 200 Board Game Geek ranked games in the cover art, you're more likely to see a creature that does not exist than a human woman. And in this case, you've got aliens are fantastic creatures, and that includes, orcs and imps and goblins at 231 images, whereas there's a scant 184 images of women in its entirety. And, I asked questions of research participants. This was of a really, really big survey that I conducted where I got hundreds of responses back. And I wanted to assess certain statements. I had contradictory statements in the survey as well, but this one keyed very extremely high. And I've been doing market research for a really long time. It's rare to see this level of passion. At 61.9% saying they strongly agreed with this statement that the board gaming industry is dominated by white men, and 27.7% saying they agree. So that's a high level of passion. And again, you don't often see that in market research. This is called a Likert scale. And then I got comments from people as I was doing the research, and this was one that really stood out to me. This fellow talked about the fact that our local board game convention is whiter than Wonder Bread, and the game designer club I attend has an all-male attendance 95% of the time. And Elizabeth Hargrave has actually done some really interesting research on Facebook communities and how they skew toward maleness and whiteness as well. And the last one I wanted to share was this finding, which I sort of rang alarm bells for me as a marketer, that a lot of folks, even before the global pandemic, felt out of place when they attended board gaming events outside of their home. And the big issue there is that delimits the wider board game community, and it also delimits the growth of the entire sector. So I'm just going to land there on some of these slides, and I've got tons and tons more research that we can talk about.
Awesome, Tanya. And I have to say that last slide is the reason why we exist.
Yes.
We would go to board gaming events.
Yes.
And feel so out of place.
Yes.
And we're just going there to have a good time.
Yes.
And at one point when we first started, Grant was very small. Our son was probably 9 or 10 years old. And I just told Mik, I'm not going to go with you anymore.
You don't want to go no more.
I'm not
I was by myself.
And walk into a convention and have everybody turn around and look at us like, why are you here?
Yes. Yes.
And like you said, it's mostly white males, very few females. So I felt really out of place. And rarely did I see a woman of color. Very rare. So I'm walking in, I'm the only woman of color there, particularly the only Black woman of color. So I just thought I didn't want to go. And so we started having those things where he would go to gaming events without me. I said, I'm not going to subject Grant to this. I'm not going to do it myself. I'm not going to go myself. But we started to change when we moved to Omaha, because we were in Texas at the time.
Yes.
Texas. They'll just say Texas.
Texas. They'll just say Texas.
But we moved to Omaha, which you would think Omaha would be even worse. But we found some really nice people here. We found some diversity here in Omaha. And then we started to create more of it when we started our channel. But that statement alone was one of the main factors. Just walking into a convention, and we would bring the diversity ourselves. Our family of 3 would come in, and we become 3% of the diversity.
Now it got bad when Starla said, make sure you take some games, Mik, so we can play and be comfortable for ourselves. Now when you go into a board game convention with all these games and all this stuff going on, and we got to bring games ourselves so we can sit on the side and play ourselves, so nobody we still, even now, I'll walk up to a game with a whole bunch of white folk playing, and they'll look at me like, why are you standing here looking at us? And we still get that to this day. So
I think it's, because still people don't know who
they don't know who we are.
Then there may be somebody saying, well, that's our family plays games, and they're like,
we don't know. Because the thing is that
let that happen.
There's a quote that I see, and it's very emotional, and it kind of applies for today. Is that James Baldwin? He said, "Now love and terror doesn't make you blind. Indifference makes you blind." And I see now, since we don't have no pressure of the BLM movement going on right now, and we don't have no problems, but we do have problems.
We have problems every day.
Like LGBTQ, the trans community, they got problems, but it's a blind. Everybody's putting their blind on it. We have that blindness still happening with indifference. And now we have the problem with indifference, and that's scary to me.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, I mean, for people who are listening, I hope you will check out some of the OFPG Voices episodes, especially the ones with Tanya on there. Her research is just, it's eye-opening.
Yes.
Eye-opening. And I just wanted to commend you for what you just brought to the table.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on, and we're gonna come back, I'm sure, especially if we have any questions. Next in line, we're gonna go with Mr. Aaron Bradley. Come on, Mr. GameEnthus.
I can definitely echo your sentiments about walking into a convention and just feeling very out of place, because the first PAX Unplugged I went to in 2019, I didn't really know anybody there, very few people. And I did enjoy myself, but it was such a stark difference from the first year I went to the second year. But with that, because I'm a content creator, that opened me up to, I got a chance to make appointments, things like that. But for someone who comes, who is not a content creator and won't know people or have appointments set up, you're just coming, you just walk in there just, you know, at more of a disadvantage. And it is very uncomfortable. And like you say, and don't know something or share something, or, oh, if you tried this, or I played that game, and people look at you like you have three heads. Like, just, how could you know that? It's like, because I do. You know? So it's, and I understand why you felt like you didn't want to go anymore, but it's important that we put ourselves in uncomfortable spaces. I mean, unfortunately, we always have to shoulder the burden of being uncomfortable initially in order to get things done. That's how it's always been. So we have to keep entering into these spaces and keep just make sure people see us, so they realize that this hobby is not for just one group of people. It can be enjoyed by everyone.
Yes.
And you should expect to see different people when you come to these things, not just people who look like you.
Okay, then you just touched on something, Aaron. You should expect to see different people.
Yeah.
I love that line. And people should expect, but unfortunately they don't. No. And then when we show up, it's like, why are you here?
And you know, I have to call out, you know, European companies and publishers and people in Europe, because they need to know, hey, you know, you guys have driven this modern board gaming, because, you know, Catan came along, you know, that's Germany, and then you got France, Poland, you know, y'all driving this industry. Y'all got to expect there is multicultural stuff going on all over the world, and you got to atone to that. Just because you might go to some of these conventions and all that stuff and see Wonder Bread, is more than Wonder Bread out there.
And I want to commend Board&Dice for reaching out to us over year and a half ago to come on board and try to, you know, help them with diversity and inclusion and be cultural consultants for them, because they saw there was a need. They knew that their community and their society was really homogenous. So they wanted to bring some people on that they could talk to and kind of, you know, throw some ideas around with. And we're happy that they chose us to do that. But it still has to go further.
It has to go further.
They have to do more. Everybody
got to do more.
But I do commend them for taking that step.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, Aaron, but what you said was so powerful, I had to jump on it. But go ahead and finish.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap up, so I know Amanda has some things to say. But, you know, Tanya, I know you've done a lot of consulting work for companies, but I'm not a consultant at all. But I do a lot of previewing. So a lot of times I do have to send awkward emails about, hey, maybe let's not have the bank robber be the black guy. And then maybe let's not just fall into silly stereotypes that we try hard. Or just maybe add some context to this thing you're doing in the game, and not just throw it out there like it. And people often are receptive, sometimes they're not. But I have to tell you, like, I was playing a game the other day, and there was something in the rule. It's just one of these rules where it's like you spend a worker, or you buy. It's like you're not. No, you just say hire. You hire a worker. You know, these represent people. So let's just act like they represent people. They're not just a resource. So just use the word like hire. Those are just little things, but they mean a lot.
I
totally agree.
I'm sure you have some experience that you'd like to share as well.
I completely agree, right? It's for like me, it was more like if I saw women playing a game, I'm more likely to go introduce myself or, you know, say, let's pick up a game together. And I think in conventions are probably the places that have not really push the diversity as much as they should. PAX U was great because they had the, they had the lounge that was for, a more people of color and the LGBTQ community and stuff like that. And that was amazing, right? But there was a lot of confusion, like, can, Caucasians go in there? Yes, but don't, take up space. Don't force yourself. This is a safe space, and if you're an ally, come in, join us, we love you, but, don't like take over in that way. Now, I feel like in the last few years, things have gotten better, right? More companies, especially American companies, they hire diverse marketers, right? And the marketing team is trying to pull all these diverse content creators, which is great. But I think it should be a baseline. It should be a baseline that every game you put out, you should have a cultural consultant, regardless if it's, if it's like fantasy or whatever. It's based on something, right?
It's based on something.
Have a cultural consultant, even if it's just looking at word choices. It should be a baseline. Have a baseline. Look at the artwork. Don't go to the same people for art, even though we love Beth Sobel. Try to diversify. Look for art elsewhere, and that also brings people in, because if you get an artist who does mostly one thing, like a children's book, then you get these families looking at your game who has their favorite artists on there, and it just really just uplifts and brings everybody together, gets more people into the gaming hobby, which is better. I feel like the examples you put out of having like Bamboo has a gay family on one of their boards, which is absolutely amazing. And I think, why not? Why can't you just put that into your art? It doesn't take any extra money. It takes a little bit more thinking power, and it should be a baseline to do, people in wheelchairs, people in crutches, just to have that diversity as a baseline to every single game you put out there. Have your cultural consultant regardless, because America's such a melting pot. There's a whole bunch of different cultures. Even if they're Caucasian, they're still different, and it is, but I feel like to end on a positive note, it's been getting better, right? I think especially since the pandemic, we actually, the online board gaming community has gotten so much richer, and people are feeling safer because they're not like in person seeing all these faces. They're like, why are you here? We have these communities, like Tabletop Gamers, that are so inclusive, and you see all these different people, and you're like, now I can join this community. It is safer because I am at home, and I get to know these people through the safety and comfort of my home, and we can interact with. And if someone's bad, I just block them, or I just turn off my computer. And I think it's brought a lot of people, and it shows. Like, me and Crystal Dax just yesterday did a whole fundraiser for the National Center of Transgender Equality, and we raised over $3,000. It's because the community has grown so much better. Everyone's trying to reach out and trying to find their people, and we are here. And I'm glad that we will not be pushed away. We will not be, even if it's all white, we're going to go in and we're going to take up space, and you should feel comfortable, and you should go there. You should tell your convention people, I want to see this content creator. I want, to have our family plays games, because they bring such a diversity, and we have, Matthew joining us and stuff like that. And it's just absolutely amazing. And I think that, having a online way, especially for conventions, having an online community helps bring people that cannot join for some reason. And a lot of it is money. A lot of our minority communities maybe don't have the time or monetary resources or whatnot to fly and join a convention or that type of thing, and it just brings them into our community, and it helps out. And I think the base thing anyone can do is just have a diverse group of playtesters. If you have that, the playtester will tell you that wording on the rulebook doesn't work, that art doesn't work for me. If you just try your best to get a diverse group of playtesters, that's the starting point. Then get your cultural consultants, then reach out to different artists, then get your the content creators, of variety of content creators to show your games. especially if they're small. If they're small and they're people of color or they're LGBTQ, you as a company have a chance to raise them up. And then it raises up everybody else. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little preachy, but
No.
it is just
You throw that mic everywhere. Throw that mic, drop it, throw it. Do your thing.
Yeah, because
You're trying to get a point across.
Yes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this particular hobby that we're in, this industry that we're in, there are no rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to start a game or create a game can do it. So when they do that, they come from their own perspective. So all we can do is keep talking about it, keep putting it out there. So when they decide to create this game from their limited perspective, that they'll say, oh, you know what, I heard, them talk on the Board&Dice Con, I need to get a cultural consultant because I may not be hitting all the marks right or whatever. But we've got to talk to people to put those messages out there, because if you don't say anything, then they're going to keep putting out stuff from their own limited perspective, and they're going to miss the mark in a lot of ways. Because we got not too many, but we've got mom and pops out here who they're going from just whatever cultural perspective they have, and they're not worried about reaching out to anybody else. But we have to keep beating that drum and keep saying these things so people say, oh, wait a minute, I need to make a change. I need to go a step further than just my own limited understanding. So yeah, I agree.
Yes, totally agree.
I agree. So any other comments from my panelists? Come on, this is a good discussion.
Let's go. I love it. Love it.
Well, one of the problems, just to echo everything that everyone is saying, is when you look at the demographics globally, and this is something I like to remind people, it kind of gives them a level set. White males make up 10% of the world's population, just 10. So when you think about that, and this is something I used to say to businesses way back in the 90s, and I actually have an article that I wrote about how it kind of mirrors, early personal computing. There's actually some lessons to be learned there, because a lot of the companies that really dug in and said, you know what, it's just engineers, it's guys with pocket protectors, they only care about computers, women don't care about computers, people of color don't care about computers. Those companies that felt that way no longer exist. And the companies that metriced, and to Amanda's great point, who metriced against expansion. Imagine if you had a performance measurement as a convention of diversity and making sure you got more diversity. There's a company that I represented, who is one of the largest tech companies now in the world. Their metrics were actually, they didn't care about revenue. They didn't care about their saturated base. The guys with pocket protectors who lived in the suburbs and who were white guys, mostly, who had engineering degrees, they didn't care about that. They cared about expansion. And they actually created a company metric that was, we just want new communities taking in our product. If board game companies actually had earlier in the pipeline, the innovation pipeline, the design process, you wouldn't have to have cultural consultants cleaning up the mess at the end. And so one of the things that I learned in the research that I conducted was a lot of people who identified as white said, please stop giving us same old. Please stop giving us white people, blue-eyed, blonde-haired knights on horseback. Please, we're bored. And so one of the alarm bells I would signal too is, even for the folks, and most of my respondents were at 74% were white identifying, said this is a problem for the board game community, lack of representation and lack of inclusion in spaces. So with that, I'll stop. But
yeah, that's really an interesting point. What I kind of got stuck on when you mentioned that white males only equal up to 10% of the population, and that may be true, but that 10% controls the bulk of the wealth of the population.
Yeah.
So what they always say, follow the money.
Because for example, like here in Omaha, it's this big weekend where all these shareholders come to listen to two guys. One of those guys is Warren Buffett, and the other one is Charlie Munger, who owned Berkshire Hathaway. Now they come here to listen to the
40,000 people converged on Omaha
to listen to two old white guys who got a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of power to talk for 5 hours. So yes.
So the disparity in wealth and the distribution of wealth, that's something that we're fighting against as well, with trying to get more diversity. because we don't control the money.
Mm-hmm.
We don't control it. And your slides prove that, Tanya, about the board games and who's making the games. So there's a lot of that we need to work on and be more supportive of those board game designers like Marcus Ross and Vertessa Elise, and try to get more diverse designers out there. Elizabeth Hargrove, handling their own games and starting their own companies. We just got to have more of it so that we can see normalization in who we are in the hobby and what we contribute. And that's the thing, kind of normalize our being.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do.
Also, like having those, like the people at the top of our industry, right? The biggest conventions, they can set the trend. They can set the example.
Yes,
I agree.
The biggest, people in our industry that, go to for content creation, the websites, right, that everyone knows, those are the ones that, should be setting that trend. And if you're not seeing them, and you especially are a Caucasian white man, you need to speak up and be an ally and say, hey, why aren't you being the leader in our community and doing inclusive and diverse reaching out to those people? If you are an ally, this is your chance to shine, is that you need to tell them, if you don't do this, I am going away, because then they'll get scared, and then hopefully they will help make this community better, right? It is hard for us as people of color, women, LGBTQ, to always be shouting into the void. Yes. And we do need our allies out there who go into a convention and see all, Caucasian men and be okay with it. You should not be okay with that. If you're really an ally, walk away, join these smaller communities, smaller conventions that do reach out to people, that do make sure that they have the guests to be inclusive and diverse, and support those people, even though, it's not the biggest convention or it's not the most popular YouTube channel and that type of stuff. And then we will see more of a growth in the industry. Yeah.
And I totally agree with you, Amanda. And that goes back to what we're doing with Voices right now. We launched the channel, and I was doing my best to get as much diversity and inclusiveness on this channel with women and people of color and LGBTQ. And then this year, as I told you guys, we started adding more white males to the channel, because these are our allies. And if they come on board and start supporting a channel that's predominantly underrepresented voices, that's going to make other white males say, oh, this channel's okay. Because we were getting ignored for a while, and we're still getting ignored by a lot in the industry, and we're fighting against that. But we're bringing on people who say, I want to support. That's why we have the nerd shelves. And then we just brought in Drew. We've got to get those allies to stand up and say, I support this.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, and definitely the conventions, I'm still not seeing too much with the conventions. So, they really need to come around, because it still look like Wonder Bread and a whole bunch of them. Even one just passed with that works on the trade of the industry. I saw, we go there.
It's a lot of work to do. I agree too with the cost of going to a lot of these conventions. It can be costly, but one thing I know about people of color, if you want it and you really enjoy it, you will go ahead and afford it. You will save up for it. You will try to be a part of it. You will make your space for yourself in that convention. But we've got to make people aware.
Yeah.
They have to know this opportunity is here, and they have to know that they're welcome. And that's one of our jobs. Say, hey, you're welcome to be anywhere you want to be.
And that's what we try to do, through our game days. We're trying to bring everybody in.
Yeah.
Everybody just, the last one we had was so beautiful because it was so diverse, inclusive. We had everybody in there. And that's what we're trying to, if we have to build community in Omaha, we're going to build it, So we're going to work with ourselves.
Other people to do that. Have game days, but reach out to other cultures,
yes,
other people, and bring them in and let people see, people who are not used to being around people from other cultures, that you can play a game with different people and have a good time. So we have to make the effort. And I think, Aaron, you had mentioned it earlier, how we have to be the ones on the front lines, fighting for the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to help, you have to be just as uncomfortable, if not more, than we already are.
That's right. That is so true. That is so true. All right, panelists, anything else you guys want to say? Because like I said, I'm loving this.
Yes, I'm loving it too.
Any other comments? Anything else you want to share?
Because this is what the hobby needs. This is what the board game, because the one thing Starla always tells me, just because you touch that board game, you know, your whole experience, your beliefs, your attitude don't disappear.
No.
Just because you sit at the table, you don't change overnight. You're not changing. You're gonna bring everything that you believe in, the biases, either unconscious or conscious, and any race, anything you got is coming to that table with you. It don't disappear just because it's a board game on there. So, you know,
it does not.
It don't disappear.
It does not. So yeah,
And
that's what we fight against. Go ahead.
Just one last comment. You know, if this is overwhelming to you, at least, you know, just the smallest thing you do is follow, you know, these creators, follow these diverse creators, retweet them, you know, and show the people that you're friends with, that follow you, that, you know, you want a more diverse community. And, you know, we are ever so grateful for anyone who does that. And so, you know, that's step one. You know, step one of doing all this. And I know, you know, we have a lot of steps we have to get through, but just start with step one. Follow any diverse creator that you love, you know, and share their work.
Yes.
And engage.
I love that.
Definitely engage.
Any other last comments, everyone?
You know, I think we've given them enough homework.
I just wanted people to know that on OFPG Voices, we have a motto. Our goal is to make this world a better place, one board game at a time. We want everyone to try to do that as well.
I thank you for all the people that are supporting us in the chat.
Yes. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And I want to say thank you so much, Tanya, Aaron, Amanda, for coming and participating.
Love y'all.
I couldn't have chosen a better panel. Thank you guys for volunteering to do this. Much love to you guys from us.
Much love. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. All
right. Thank you guys. That's it for us.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.